one of my family members who was very important to me, amazing man. At the time, I was a very stubborn young man, and I just told him, yeah, I think I'm going to open up a barbershop. I know how to cut hair. I have relationships. I can build this. And he says, why don't you do something a little more possible? And at that point, I just decided I'm not going to tell anybody what my visions are anymore. I'm just going to do it. I have failed many times just trying to get in front of the camera and being there. So I'd say anybody who's trying to make content and feels a bit stuck with it, just make the next video and eventually you'll find yourself through it.
If you wanted to get 100,000 followers in 30 days and you wanted to use AI kind of in that process, what would be step one?
Let's just do it. Let's put it out. Let's just do it.
Okay, today's episode is with Dom Ashburn. You may know him better as Mr. Grateful. He's the expert on AI. He's the person that I go to when I'm looking to learn about the technology. And it's not just me. Dom has also worked with Meta, with Adobe, with Mindvalley to help educate them on how they can use AI and the benefits of AI. Dom's story is an interesting one. He went from dropping out of design school to starting his own agency to then becoming a content creator. And his initial steps in content creation were so frustrating to him. Nothing would work. He was posting videos and they were getting no traction. And one day, he decides that he's going to use ChatGPT as his social media manager. And he sets ChatGPT a challenge of getting him 100,000 followers in 30 days. He hit that 100,000 follower mark in 22 days. At the point that we're recording now, he just passed 300,000 followers. And really what you hear in this episode is Dom's unique approach of working with ChatGPT. There's a certain point in the episode where he literally pulls out his phone and you see him collaborate with ChatGPT on the question of how you can get your first 10,000 followers on Instagram. And so really what you're going to leave this episode with is an understanding of not only how to build an audience in an extremely short amount of time using AI as your helper, as your social media manager. We also dive deeper into how you can then monetize that audience and just build an overall great, successful creator business. I was looking at your Instagram, and on your bio, it says, stay valuable in the age of AI.
Yeah.
And then when I go to your LinkedIn, it says, you work to keep humans valuable in the age of AI by teaching them how to use cutting-edge technologies like AI, 3D, and mixed reality design. And so here's where I want to begin. Can you start by just kind of sharing who you are? And then why is that point so important, that keeping humans valuable in the age of AI?
So you've been through a few trading courses, watched dozens of YouTube videos about trading, maybe even read some trading books, yet you're still not a profitable trader? How is that even possible? Well, it's because you're missing one crucial piece to the puzzle. It's not your mindset or it's not your indicators, but if you give me less than 1 minute, I'm going to reveal exactly what it is to you. My name is Ethan Palagonio. I'm the founder of Trading Accelerator, where we help new traders eventually replace their 9-to-5 with trading, which will result in you having financial freedom, location freedom, and time freedom. But we achieve this by following a path not many people know exists. The same path I used from graduating high school with a 1.6 GPA to now making multi-six figures per year strictly from trading. Here's the thing. The biggest lie told by the gurus is that anybody can get good results trading with a little bit of capital. Total BS. The reality is, the less trading capital you have, the harder it is to make solid returns and the better trader you need to be. Imagine this scenario. We have trader A over here with a 100K account, and we have trader B over here with a 10K account. They both allocate 10% of their trading capital towards that trade. Trader A puts 10K towards that trade, and Trader B puts 1K towards that trade. In order for Trader A to make $350, he only needs to make 3.5% ROI on that trade, because 3.5% out of 10,000 is $350. While Trader B over here needs to make 35% ROI on that trade to match Trader A, because 35% out of $1,000 is $350. What do you think is easier to make? 35% or 3.5%? Obviously 3.5%, right? See my point? The more trading capital you have, the easier it is to make profits. And when you couple that with our proven and tested KISS trading strategy, that's when the magic happens. The problem is, how are you going to obtain that much trading capital? It's simple. I'm sure you've heard of it, but if not, there are these companies called prop firms. There are proprietary trading firms out there that fund traders anywhere between $10,000 and $1 million in trading capital, all depending on their skill. This allows traders to generate a solid income from trading that is easily scalable, while trading stress-free because they are not risking their hard-earned savings, and without having to become absolute trading experts in a short period of time because the trading capital allows them to make a solid income with a low investment up front. This is exactly what we help our students achieve in record time. If you would like to see how this works so you can qualify for a fully funded trading account with our help and get access to our KISS trading strategy, click the link below and fill out your info on the next page to get access to a short video explaining exactly how this process works. Anyone can do this regardless of their experience. Take my student Zach, for example. He went from working as a server in a restaurant to making his first ever $10K month within 6 months of joining the program. And now he's trading $200,000 in funded capital from these trading firms. And once again, all this was done within 6 months of working with us. And now Zach's life looks much different. He's a full-time trader making 6 figures a year, all while working on his own schedule, traveling the world. He was able to move to Thailand and travel all across Europe, all because of our KISS trading strategy. We actually guarantee that we get our students to start making money and get 6 figures in trading capital all within 6 months, or they do not pay. So becoming our student has zero risk on your end. So if that even sounds just a little bit interesting, don't wait. Hit the link below and take a few minutes to watch this video. And if you don't have the time right now, at least just click the video and bookmark it so you can watch it later. Because who knows if you'll ever see this video again. So click the link below and get instant access to our training. Or you can keep spending your time watching mind-numbing videos. Go to bed and then wake up tomorrow no better off than you are now. The choice is yours.
Being a lawyer, I was somewhat skeptical. Generative AI had sort of just hit the news as being a big deal. We've heard of other things in the past that were going to change the entire profession, and lawyers tend to be relatively risk averse. So one of the ways we increase reliability and confidence in the results is through something called retrieval augmented generation, which is a technique essentially for enhancing the accuracy and reliability of generative AI models with facts obtained from authoritative sources. It's not based on just anything that's available on the internet, which obviously could include some misinformation. The goal of this technology isn't to replace the work of a lawyer. It is to complement the work of the lawyer. It is to free up capacity in a lawyer's day so they can concentrate more on things that are going to add more value for their clients. Something that Lexis Plus AI was quite helpful with was debating where we would like the jurisdiction to be for our general terms, for all of our customer contracts. So you can put a question right into Lexis Plus AI. It talked about New York State versus Delaware, which helped me narrow it down and understand some of the issues that we may want to consider in terms of expense of going to court, arbitration, and other such things. Now that we are, basically a year and a bit into this generative AI experience, it's time to try it. Just start small. Don't wait. Just try the tool. These technologies, these generative AI tools, Lexis Plus AI itself, it's only going to get better.
Well, I should probably update that. It's probably in like LinkedIn or something like that, but I need to update it because I'm not keeping people valuable in the age of AI through AI or through mixed realities anymore. It's more so keeping people valuable by allowing them to realize their own true nature and realize themselves. And what I mean by that is, in the age of AI, the utopia that all of the tech companies are working towards right now, whether they're saying it or not, is a world where we are essentially able to focus on any task that we choose because artificial intelligence is able to do any task a human can across all domains. If you listen to like Sam Altman, he says, I don't care if we're blowing millions or billions of dollars every year we're getting to AGI. And AGI is artificial general intelligence. And artificial general intelligence is different from what we are using now, which is ANI, which is artificial narrow intelligence. And ANI is an artificial intelligence that's working with a very specific narrow task that it does. You think of like Tesla autopilot driving. You think of word prediction, word generation, like the large language models that we have now with ChatGPT. They're very narrow. They're supposed to do a very specific thing. AGI will be able to do any task a human can across the board and mix knowledge from one domain to another. And in that case that we have that technology, there becomes an irrelevance to much of the work that we spend our lives doing right now. And many people identify with their career. They identify with the work that they do. They identify with their job, right? One of the first questions that you probably ask somebody when you meet them is like, what do you do? Which means, what do you do to make a living, right? What are you spending your time on? And sometimes it's even, people may even get embarrassed by saying, I'm just a stay-at-home person, right? Or I'm looking, I'm trying to find that thing, right? Or I'm an artist. Sometimes that can even be embarrassing because people identify so much with their careers. So to stay valuable in the age of AI, where a lot of people may not be able to then identify with their identity. And I'm talking, there are papers out right now that predict that AGI could be here by 2027. So this is 3 years out, 2.5 years out. In 2.5 years, we're not talking like decades here. Like we're talking like just a few years. In that case, how do you stay valuable? And that is why I have meditations on my website, simply because we identify so much with our reactivity and with our careers, reactive to our likes and dislikes. And one of the things that I try to do is just help people to come to the true nature of themselves, understand who they are, what they want, and how they want to live their lives. This is the opportunity to just choose how you want to live and align with that. There's no more doing things just because somebody else told you to do it, or your parents are going to be disappointed, or that's what you got a degree in. Like, choose how you want to live your life, because you are going to die, and there's a possibility that you are going to be replaced. That's inevitable. So just choose how you want to live your life, and I try to help people do that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I want to get into your context and your story, because especially when it comes to AI and just in general, you think about things differently. And so I want to give people the context on like why that is. Before we do though, I wanted to read this quote that I heard from Mo Godot, who was basically the former chief business officer at Google X, just like Google's like AI division. He paints quite like a doomsday, apocalyptic kind of picture of AI and the effect it's going to have. He said, AI is the most existential challenge that humanity will ever face. This is bigger than climate change, way bigger than COVID. This will redefine the way that the world is in the next few years. And so I think it's quite a common narrative at the moment. We hear a lot of people kind of speaking of the dangers of AI. Your perspective's kind of different. You have a much more positive, optimistic perspective. And so I think when people think about like, AI will be able to do everything that I'm doing, or it might make me almost like obsolete in my job. Why do you take the positive outlook to that versus a lot of what we hear in the media at the moment?
Well, when I was a kid, I grew up in Cincinnati and Dayton, between households. And when I would go to Cincinnati, we'd go to a theme park called Kings Island. And in Kings Island, it's a bunch of like scary roller coasters. And that right there was like my utopia as a kid. Like, this is the place for fun. This place where I can go there, do whatever I want, get thrills, just have fun. And it was a place of like freedom, right? There's a lot of danger and there's a lot of danger with going up roller coasters and just building roller coasters in general, right? And if I were to spend my whole drive on my way to the roller coaster scared about the potential dangers of it, then I might not enjoy my time. As a kid, that was like my utopia, right? Now, that analogy doesn't totally translate to present day because, we have data and architecture around roller coasters to make sure that everybody's safe and nobody's died from it. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I take an optimistic approach today as an adult when it comes to artificial intelligence is because I believe in the power of.
And we went to Fat Tuesdays last night too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Nobody.
Oh, that was Friday.
You could probably come today. We're doing burgers. I mean, we were already embarrassed now, but we'll vouch for you. Don't tell me to stop. That was a joke.
No, please.
No, y'all should come.
It's so annoying.
I have a whole mother.
No matter what, yeah.
And my game's
Telling
on.
me a lot of
You just leave it alone, he'll stop on the.
50-50.
Like a wild dog. Oh, hey, Blue, wait, yellow, yellow, turn around. Or whoever, I don't give a fuck. Take this shit. Here's one.
Staying away from the fire. Hey, get away, who knows?
Yellow, here, take this. Go, there we go. You want some more stuff? I got encrypted hard drives. Also, y'all want con stuff? I got a Metaguest.
Go out one more time.
300 horsepower. That mission to the.
What fucking movie y'all watching? Yo, we should just take the TVs onto the boat and watch the games. Take the TVs to the boat. Yeah.
What y'all know about the boat? The love boat.
What are you talking about? Everyone has boats.
Talking about from the city, man. Coming from Minnesota Avenue all the way to.
Don't you know?
What Frank said though?
No, we're going to John and Natalie's. He's cracked.
Dog for a walk.
No, you are not taking that dog out without a leash. You can take Gam Bam without a leash.
Yeah, because that goes are good.
Nope, that's not how that dog works.
I could bring outside. No,
I bet you she barely even likes you.
I promise you. Look at y'all. Cuz, tell them how we is, dude. You don't even know our relationship. Remember that girl? They don't even know our relationship.
So when I come in the door, like if
Good,
I
tell
pet
them
one
about
and
it.
not the other, then you
Sorry, I'm sorry, Bobby.
Yeah, I told you she don't even like you. Now you're sticking up for the dog, now you're finding excuses for the dog. She don't like me because she's fat.
You fat, we gonna call her cat.
She ain't even that
My
fat.
mom told me not to be mean. I swear to God.
Gam bam, eat his face.
I don't smoke.
Stimulate.
I'd be like, Cody, you want to go on a walk with me? I'll walk with you to go on the block.
Gam bam wants to go.
Like, yo, you want to go on a walk around the block for like,
Call a cow, cow.
hell yeah. She'll look at me like, it's stupid. I hate that. I'll be like, I'm dead serious. You know what I mean. But I'm with you. I'll go though. I'll put in the work with it. I can't see it go out.
Dude, is my sensitivity up or no? You just don't stop talking. 7-7? Put that up higher. Are you still talking to me? Oh, no, I just forgot to listen. I just forgot to listen.
No, I don't. Is this the one?
Oh, you talking about, yeah, the cow one?
I'm so. All the talking I did and just. I was actually, I just want to stop. I'll be suing, you know? Oh, yeah.
Talking about a certain.
Hey, yo. Really, that's what I'm saying. It's
It does sound
you
good.
opening
It's
it.
not a-
You can't open. Back and forth with each other. Like, he's like, let me. Oh, yeah.
But it sounds like
That black called him up. He's like, tips, trading, follow and nigga. Like, follow and nigga. I said,
I want to say some stuff.
Hey, man. He's in that building right here.
So how fucking.
That orange juice. Delicious.
It's at the stronghold. I got a key.
Oh, this is searching for me. Someone's phone's going on. I got so much fucking money, I don't even have a plate though. You can't even carry all this fucking shit. Gave up. Bitch, I'm a gingerbread man. You can catch me if I want you to. Of course they are. Oh. That shit for no reason. Wow, those extra fucking plates, I can't even carry them. 45 minutes or so? Teammates, if any of y'all want a large bag, we got an extra spot. That's me. No, there's a team on my butthole. You saw, I just ran from another team that was on my butthole really hard. They were like sniffing it. Like, they go in the water, drown myself, drown them out. How about not a team player? I gave my teammates everything they fucking had. Like, look, I just told them I have an extra bag for them. Well, Dude, I don't need them to hold my hand, and I don't need to babysit them either. They better be grown ass fucking men. Die. You can. Do what? What are you talking about? What? Do what?
I mean, are you ready?
The controls are extra sensitive.
Why you like this? Make it run.
Oh. Yeah, see that?
Instead of reload, hit Y.
Oh, why puts the plates on? The hell is wrong with this truck? What?
What?
Nuts. Fuck this shit. What? Gam bam? I am walking. How can I not walk up this fucking hill? Ah, buy station. That's what I need. What?
How do you win?
Kill everybody else. Eggsville. I don't even know why I'm going towards the Eggsville. I need this. Dude, literally just went outside with me.
Visualization, and I believe in the power of the human mind. And I think that we're going to create what we imagine.
That's much better. It's supposed to be 3, not 8.
I'm sure that you imagined your show. You imagined the following that you have. You imagined some of the guests that you might have on before they ever happened, before you even maybe have even talked to them. You had this imagination of what you wanted. You visualized it first. People like the goats. Every goat always visualizes their wins before they do it, and they know that that's what's going to happen. We've created a visualization. We've planted visions in people's minds through media, through movies. Movies like The Terminator or Space Odyssey 2001, where we, iRobot, where we show people a potential future reality. And in that future potential reality, there's death and there's destruction, and it's at the hands, at the robotic hands of AI, right? I think that if you ever want to create anything in life that's good, you have to first imagine it as good. There hasn't been a visual planted in anyone's minds yet of what a utopia looks like. What does Kings Island look like in 2030? What is utopia? What does that even look like? What does a world look like that's amazing and positive because of artificial intelligence? Is anybody planting that idea?
Oh yeah, buy station.
And I think that if we want to ever get to a positive world, we have to start planting seeds of positivity so that people know what they're working towards. If the only thing people are thinking of is the roller coaster slowing down, you flying off, the seatbelt coming off, and you're flying out, and everybody's dying, and the roller coasters are collapsing, or in this case, artificial intelligence starts coding in languages that we don't understand just to manipulate us so that it can take over and start making decisions with its agency and super intelligence that don't align with human incentives. That's scary. And we don't want that. So it's good to think about it. However, if that's the only vision that's being planted in people's minds, then that's what we're going to create. That's what we will build if that's what we're visualizing. So it only makes sense to balance the scales with another perspective. And I'm not disengaging or disregarding the dangers of it, because there are dangers. A startup is not going to be able to handle super intelligence. Once it gets to super intelligence, it'll be in a governmental facility that even the government may have trouble locking down and protecting, right? But the first nation that has it will be the superpower of the world, and we need to make sure that we're planting a positive vision of what that world looks like when we get to it.
I want to get into how people can use AI right now to start building like a successful creative business. We'll get to that later. But just quickly, I have to ask about when you say super intelligence. I'm not as well versed on this stuff as you. When you say super intelligence, what does that mean?
People like Leonardo da Vinci, how they would call him a polymath, somebody who is an expert, like really well versed in many areas. He was he painted masterpieces. At the same time, he was also doing amazing calculations and doing industrial engineering and design, right? You think of people like that in present day. For instance, like Elon Musk, he can use his intelligence across so many different domains, right? He can be in space, social media, and artificial intelligence and automobile production, right? He's able to use his intelligence across so many different domains and then take information from this domain and then apply it over here. And that's what polymaths are like. You'll hear them as Renaissance men. This is what these people are able to do, is take their intelligence and then build them across many domains. People who speak multiple languages, people who are able to do multiple martial arts and play instruments and are artistic, right? So if you can imagine,
No, they're all in the shower.
And
They're all in the shower.
a super intelligence is something that is
See,
able
like,
to
I
take
Birdo's
information
back
from
room.
any domain like that and mix its knowledge across those domains, but every single domain that's ever been known to
Hey, my
man,
fault. Don't worry. What you
and
doing?
speak in any language, and not just human languages, but coding languages, and potentially even create its own language that would be
wanna make out?
unidentifiable
Yeah.
or decoded by human beings, right? This intelligence that is able
What
to
was that sign for?
not only predict, but create,
Oh,
and create based on the patterns that it sees across all of these, all of the domains. That is what like a super intelligence is. It would be able to, control hardware. A lot of the hardware that we have has coding in it, like our cameras, our phones, our cars, anything with a computer in it has code behind it attached to the internet. It would then be able to take this information across all domains and then access and operate those as well. So the super intelligence is superior in intelligence across every domain to every human being. That's what super intelligence would be.
Almost, it's like the most elite level brain, but like it doesn't even exist organically. Like it's like just almost like a super brain, essentially. I would assume like 1,000 times, I don't know, 10,000 times, 100,000 times more powerful than any like man's brain, essentially. Which is why a lot of people are like afraid of it. But I think you actually make a really good point, which is in general, just as a general rule, a lot of the times our thoughts, our ideas, our fears, if they're left unchecked, can actually start to manifest into our reality. And so like when people are just pushing like this negative sentiment around AI specifically, it's like we're pushing ourselves towards that doomsday reality through those fears coming out. And so I love what you do because you kind of balance the picture with your content. You know, I want to get into your story. And you spoke earlier about like dreaming or the power of visualization, having these ideas, this vision for what your life is going to be, and then manifesting it. I'm curious where that began for you. Like, even if we looked back at kind of the early context, what were some of those early dreams, those early kind of visions of what you would go on to achieve?
The first one that comes to mind actually is when I would work with my father on my school projects. I would just create school projects, like, you know, using construction paper and, you know, like different physical materials. Me and my dad would work on them together. And I'm talking like elementary school, you know what I'm saying? Like second, third grade is when that started. And one of the first visions that I had was on this assignment where we had to like we had to make like a typography map and just use like colored pencils. It was like a coloring book page almost, but we had to draw where the high parts were and then where like the low parts of the land were, using some different colors and things, and like almost build our own settlement. We were learning about like the history of America, and we had to draw like one of the settlements or whatever. Well, I had this idea of like making that real, and not just colored pencil, but like making it real. So I went home, told my dad about it. I told him my vision. He didn't know that the project was just on paper. I told him my vision of like what I wanted this to be. We went to the art store and we got like, you know, the fake model trees and the glue and the like white, this like clear glue that would mold and look like water, and like moss and stuff. We're out like at the park gathering moss, and we went and created this like huge, like realistic looking settlement that I brought into class when I'm like, you know, 6 years old, and everybody else has these like pieces of paper, you know what I'm saying? So everybody in class is just like throwing their piece of paper out, coming up and playing with this thing, right? Yeah. And that moment right there just made me realize like I can think beyond the assignment, and I can think beyond what is given to me, the tools that are given to me. I can describe my vision, somebody will help me with it, and we can build it, and then it's going to make everybody in awe, right? So that moment was at such a young age, really helped me to continue doing that. But what happens as as an adult, as you just get older, when you start to tell other people your visions, they're not like, yeah, let's go do it. They're like, I don't know if that's possible.
They're skeptical.
They're skeptical because it's not a make-believe like set anymore. It's real life. You know, things start to cost a lot of money. Things start to take time. And we are human beings that will eventually die. So you must be protective with your time, your energy, and your money. And so I understand. But I've been more careful with sharing my visions that I have because people have been used to shutting them down, saying, I don't think that's possible. So that was one of the first visions that I had as a kid. And then I just haven't stopped. And I think persevering through people telling you things aren't possible allows you to get to a point where you will make it possible no matter what. And then you'll also be that person that will tell other people that that vision that you have, it is possible and you can do it because I have. And not only that, but I failed in front of a lot of people too. You have to be willing to state your vision because you have to be willing for it to fail. And a great way of going about that is just treating your life like a science experiment. Treat your life like an experiment. I don't have goals. I have questions. Because every science experiment starts with a question, then a hypothesis, and then an experiment, and then data, and then a conclusion. That's a scientific method. So if you treat your life like a science experiment, instead of having these goals where if you don't meet them, you feel like you failed, and now you have all this weight on you, open yourself up to asking a question. Can I become a billionaire? Can I reach 1 million followers? Can I build a school in a third world country? Whatever your thing is, right? Can I be the best? When you start with a question, it opens you up to the many possibilities of what your hypothesis and experiment for your life can be. And then you test things that separates you from the conclusion. It separates you from the relying on the outcome. Your value and your identity is no longer connected to the outcome, which has been a great tool for me when I have a vision. I no longer am so naive and stubborn and angry when people don't believe in it. I can just let go and say, it's just a question. I'm just curious about this and I'm going to explore it, right? Everybody else is so determined to shut you down from it. It's simply because they don't have the open-mindedness or curiosity to ask the same questions at that caliber. So that's on them at that point. You can continue to stay curious and have that curiosity as a child to say, what would happen if I did this? And once you make it, it really wows people and it expands their minds. So,
hey, aren't you tired of all the hype about AI? AI this, AI that? It's all we hear about these days, isn't it? AI is gonna revolutionize everything. AI is the future. AI will change the world. Blah, blah, freaking blah. Well, I'm telling you,
It's actually one of the most powerful mindsets, frameworks that you can have is being able to detach from the outcome. So hard when you're ambitious, when you have like these just dead set goals in your brain, in your mind, it's so hard to have that detachment from the outcome. But all the best things come from that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Part of what I love of hearing you kind of explain that framework, like the scientific method of just asking questions, is it forces you to just be curious. To be curious first, rather than trying to get this outcome. I'm trying to be rich, or I want to get more girls, or I want to be famous, or you can't do that. It's just a question. You have to lead with curiosity, to pure intent. And like the kind of the paradox to it, the irony of it is that because of the kind of purity of that intent, you actually get the outcome.
Yeah.
But you weren't even aiming for it, but you get it.
Yeah.
And so you know what? Because when I was listening to you, I can see your eyes light up when you speak about bringing this science project, or this project into the classroom, and the awe of the other kids.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like that's an important feeling for you. And so I'm curious if you've ever reflected on that. Like, why is that feeling of being able to kind of inspire awe in others? Like, why is that such a big thing for you?
That's a great question, and great intuition and empathy to be able to recognize that in me when I'm speaking about it. Why is it that I want to inspire people? Well, I don't know. Yesterday was Father's Day, and I lost my father when I was 16, 17. And I think that maybe it's a way for me to allow him to kind of continue living through me. Like, I feel like that's the legacy that he gives me, because he inspired that. He was the first person to show me, like, he created projects. Like, my dad never had a lot of money. He had a really hard time just like getting a grasp on life. But he was creating until the day he died. He was always creating, always writing like poetry or making these little projects. He remade the Ghostbusters like proton pack. He remade, like, he would just make random stuff. Like, he'd go to the dollar store and get plates and like glue them together and then get a red cup or like a green cup and put it underneath and make it look like a UFO ship with like a light beam coming down and put a light inside. Like, he was always creating. And I think that I want to make meaning of maybe his life and also give myself a positive outlook on my relationship with him as well. And I think I do that by continuing to want to inspire people the same way that he helped me to inspire other people just by helping me with a school project when I was a kid, you know? So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so.
That makes sense. In a way, you're like paying it forward.
Sure.
Like the way that he inspired you, he allowed you to dream, to create. It's like you want to inspire that in others.
Yeah.
I think that makes complete sense.
Yeah. It's also an addiction.
Yeah.
It can be a vice at some point.
Yeah.
Of like wanting so badly to inspire somebody else that sometimes I make things overly complicated. Sometimes something more simple can be more impactful, and I'll go for something big that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of man hours, and really push me over the edge, just so that I can get that moment of feeling like I inspired somebody and I impacted them. You know, I'm not sure if that's positive or negative yet. I think the world will see maybe after I'm gone if the effort that I'm putting into that is worthwhile. But it's something that I'm working on trying to balance, actually, figuring out how I can make more of an impact with more flow rather than being so blunt force about it. So it's something that I'm actively working on. And this podcast is being caught in the middle of a chapter for me. You know, I'm actively reflecting on my life, actively deciding the directions that I want to take. You know, so maybe we can do we can rewind it and see where we are. You know,
play back the tape,
play it back, and see where we are. But yeah, I'm sure we're catching other people in that footnote as well, right? We're catching other people in the middle of one of their chapters that's listening to this. So I hope that by hearing of somebody else that is also in the middle of one of their chapters and figuring out which direction they want to go, even after having such clarity on their motivations, is able to take a breath and relax. Just know, like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be cool. If you have a vision, it was given to you. It was given to you. And if you have a vision, if you have an idea in your mind, it is inevitable for it to manifest. So just take a breath and relax and give yourself space and grace along that process.
No, I think that's a really great message. I think one of the things that's just difficult for any dreamer, for anyone that's like at an early age, they had these aspirations of what they'll be, is that there's a certain point, like you talk about like milestones in the story, there's a certain point where like the world gets involved, right?
Yeah.
I think when you're a kid and you're like, oh, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a singer, I want to be a football player, like a music artist, whatever it is, people encourage that way of thinking, that dreaming, thinking that you can be on this level. And then it gets to a point where it's like, nah, you have to be realistic now. What are you actually going to do? And there's now this pressure for you to have it figured out, know exactly what the picture, like you're working towards this track and this is when you're going to achieve it. There's all this expectation on your dream now.
I'm gone.
And so I'm curious, when you reflect on kind of your story, where was the first moment where you started to feel that? You started to feel the expectation of like, no, now it needs to be realistic. It's not just the fun project that you're bringing into school and everyone's in awe of it. It's like, you need to be doing something right now that we can look at. And when did that expectation of the world kind of come in?
Yeah, I had somebody very important to me
You're inside?
to tell me, yeah, but you need to do something a little more possible. And the idea wasn't even that big. I just wanted to open up a barbershop because I was like, yeah, I can open up a barbershop. Like, that'll bring me in some money while I chase my real dreams, you know? And they were like, yeah, you need to do something a little more possible. And granted, at the time, I had just dropped out of college and I didn't have any money and I wanted to open up a whole establishment. They're like, yo, what? What are you doing? Somebody in that position needs to tell you, okay, how can we go about that? Let's come back to question. How can we go about that if you have an idea? How can we make that happen? And that was the first time. If we want to rewind a little bit, I went to design school at DAP in Cincinnati. It was design, architecture, art, and planning. And I got in through a fashion degree in their fashion program. And this was the time that like Virgil Abloh was really booming with Off-White. He was doing collaborations with IKEA and stuff at that time, with collaborations with Jordan. Kanye was releasing new waves of his like 350s. I think this was around like season 2 or 3 of Yeezy. Heron Preston was coming out with stuff. This is like a Cold Wall was coming out. There's like all these like black designers in fashion were really revolutionizing the fashion space. I went to school for graphic design, but they said, okay, we'll put you into fashion because graphics full. But if you do really well in fashion, then we'll put you into graphic design afterwards. I was like, okay, cool. Foundations is the same for everybody. I'm in there going through my foundations. They're teaching me drawing, 2D, 3D, and then art history, and then like sewing and pattern making and stuff. So I'm going through that. And it is rigorous. It's 80-hour weeks minimum of schoolwork every week. And one time I was going to sleep, and I was so grateful that I was going to get 4 hours of sleep that night. I was like so thankful. And my eyes just like shot open. And I was like, what? And I just came to this realization, like, dude, this is unhealthy. Like, you are beating yourself to death. And like, for what? Like, what are you even here for? What are you doing? Like, what's going on? You want to be a rock star? Like, you want to be like Ye and Virgil and all this? Okay, well, like, is this where you need to be? And I just asked myself and kind of asked God and the ether, like the universe, is this where I need to be? Like, how can I achieve that goal? Not necessarily being like them, but having a significant impact and kind of being on my own, being independent. So I went to class the next day, and I was in portfolio class, and they started handing out sheets of paper. And the sheets of paper were the list of companies that hire from that school. And they said, base your portfolio on the company that you want to work for. And it was at that moment that I realized, like, okay, the place isn't for me. The school is an amazing school. Their classes are super dope. I learned so much there during my time. I just realized that the thing that I wanted to do didn't align with that path. And that was cool. A more mature version of me that might have been a bit more timid might have said, oh, well, just stay in school, learn the skills that they're teaching you, work for a company, learn what the inside of a company looks like, and then you can go on to your path and like build your own thing, right? That's a safe method of doing it. That's what everybody told me to do. I just couldn't stomach it. I just didn't feel. I literally had just asked God, and the next day I get that. How can I not listen, right? I would rather listen to God and myself than my family, even though I love them. So I decided to leave school. I opened up a waffle stand in the cafe of that school. It was called Sticks. Me and my friend Brandon, which is ironically my dad's name, which is funny. And he helped me with this vision. And I'm just making that connection. Yeah, he helped me with this vision to gather up some money so that I could start my own design and production agency. And it turned out that after I collected all of my colleagues' money from selling them like waffles in the morning on their way to class, I took that money, I hired an editor, bought a camera, and my first client for the production company was my sustainability professor at that school. And she had a company, and she allowed me, her name is Liz Ricketts. She has a company called the OR is Present. She helps people in Ghana to create a more sustainable ecosystem and economy in Ghana. And I made a music video promoting her company. She paid me to do it, and it was like 75 people on the crew. We rented out the whole like gym. She let me write the whole thing, direct everybody, direct the editing, everything. She just gave me full control. And since then, I just decided like this is the path I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna continue to create and do it in a way that I choose to. And if I don't get the autonomy and the freedom to create in that way, in the way that they believed in me, then I'm not doing it. I just made that a standard for myself. I'm working for myself. I'm creating the things that I want to create, and I'm going to do it to make a positive impact on the world. Period. And if I'm not doing that, then it's if that's not the opportunity, then I'm not doing it. Right? So it just created a very clear line for me. But during that time, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I obviously, as a 18-year-old, 19-year-old who just dropped out of school and has a production agency and they only have one client, you're trying to find money. You're trying to find ways to make money. And when I went to one of my family members who's very important to me, amazing man, our relationship has really evolved over time. I love him so much. But at the time, I was a very stubborn young man, and I just told him, yeah, I think I'm going to open up a barbershop. I know how to cut hair. I have relationships. I can build this. And he said, why don't you do something a little more possible? And at that point, I just decided, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody what my visions are anymore. I'm just going to do it. And I'll show people instead of doing it, or instead of telling them. So now that's my thing. I just do it, and then I tell people about it. I don't really project it.
Yeah. No, that's powerful stuff. And you know what? It's interesting as I listen, and we even spoke about some kind of like those childhood memories. It was the exact same process as that school project, right? Like you have a certain idea, a certain vision, but then you actually childhood memories. It's the exact same. It was the exact same process as the as that school project, right? Like you have a certain idea, a certain vision, but then you actually take it further than what was initially thought of, and like the set with 75 people, it's like more than you could imagine, but it's like exactly in keeping. Something that I always tell myself is like I want to keep tapping into like that childlike wonder. When we're children, it's just, we just want to explore, we just want to dream, and it's like you're tapping back into that. And you know what? I wanted to rewind just a little bit. Take me to that moment. You're sitting in the classroom in design school, and you've like, I'm sure like you've put a ton of work in. Like you've done, I don't know, months, years of like hours and hours and hours of work to get to this point. And you have these visions of like, what Virgil Abloh's doing, or Kanye West. I'm sure like Jerry Lorenzo, like these sort of names, right? And they tell you, you need to fit your resume basically, or who you are, to suit these companies. Why did you have such like almost like a visceral reaction to that? Like, why was that something where you were like, okay, this is not the right place? Because I think for a lot of people, like the move to quit school or quit their job or anything, it's like so tough to take that step. But you were just incredibly motivated for it. So why is that?
I think I was at a point in my life where I felt like I had come to a realization around that time. And I realized that the future didn't exist. The future doesn't exist. The past doesn't exist. And when you realize that, like you actually feel that and you know it, you realize that the decisions that you have to make start now. Start right now. They're not this future opportunity that you're waiting for, this reason, this meaning, this motivation that you're waiting for, or this thing that you're waiting for to happen to you in the future. It doesn't exist. It's just not there. The only thing that exists as a matter of experience is right now. You have to accept where you are right now. That's the very first step. You have to accept where you are right now. Then, in your mind, have the idea of what you want. You have to decide what it is that you want. And I realized that I didn't want that. I just didn't want it. And I'm not going to continue on with something that I don't want to do, that I don't want for my life. And everybody needs to realize that they are going to die. There comes this like, it is delusional to think that there is time, that something's going to happen to you, or there's just going to be this. It's right now. Like you're living life right now. Accept that, decide what you want, and then move in accordance to it. So many people wait. I just didn't want to wait. I just did it now, and I trusted. I just had faith and I trusted. It might not give people much feeling of safety, but there is no guarantees. There's no guarantees of safety. Even if you spend your life doing what you think other people may want you to do, you have no idea what's in store for you down that lane either. So you might as well go do the thing that you want to do. That was just my idea. And I was young and stubborn about it. And I decided to continue down that same path. I mean, it was just as raw as that.
You know what's interesting? You said there's no guarantees of safety. And it's so true. But I think sometimes when we're at like an early stage, we don't want to like stand out, You don't want to make like too bold of a move and then everyone is like seeing. I think for most people that's kind of like a thing, Like we go to university and it's like these very traditional tracks.
Yeah.
And so I can just tell even when you were speaking about it, that is an important thing. There's no guarantee of safety. Is there like a certain experience that almost crystallized that for you? Like, was there something that it was pushing you to be like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to take the risk? Because I know it firsthand that when your parents, your family, friends have they have an expectation or a thought of what you should be doing, to go against that takes courage. And so when you talk about there's no guarantees of safety, like what was the experience that in your mind was like, push that home?
U.S. traders can still unlock capital with prop firms. And I've made a list of all of them, tested them, make sure you can get funded and get payouts, even if you're trading from the United States. The demo on the next page is 100% free, so click the link below to watch the full training. In this video, you're about to discover the prop firming process and how we guarantee we can help you get funded $100,000 worth of trading capital using our narrow trading AI, or we give you your money back. We're also going to show you our trading autopilot, which is how traders can keep trading while at work or on vacation without having to monitor their accounts.
Damn, I skipped it instead of clicking on it.
I grew up in a pretty safe environment, I feel, which gave me probably a sense of safety that I've always been quite protected. I've always been protected, not necessarily by people, but just by like divine circumstances, it feels. And I think that everybody has at some point. If you're sitting here right now, if you're listening to this, you have also been protected. And there's a reason why you have been protected on to this point. Maybe think right now of a situation where things could have gone really bad, right? You could have gotten really hurt, or you could have died, or you could have been in jail or anything like that, but something shifted and you were protected in that moment. In that moment, you got another opportunity, right? I felt like that had happened to me so many times in my life where I felt protected, where I knew that if I decided to take the safe route, then I would almost be giving my new opportunity in vain, right? But and then at the same time, it gives you a little bit of confidence that no matter what I do, I will be protected and I'm okay. And as long as I'm moving in alignment with my highest idea of myself, then there is nothing that can really hurt me more than myself. So I can't say it was a specific moment. I was given much freedom growing up. I grew up before like iPhones and stuff, so I was out and about. I was running around outside, until it got dark out, and then, just doing that every day. So I had a sense of independence and freedom growing up from a child, and that carried over as well. So I think that if you realize like you're alive right now, you're breathing, you've been protected up until this moment, and there's opportunity for you to take a risk. There's more risk in not taking the risk almost. So not any one particular story.
Yeah, no, I
can give you, but
I get you. It makes complete sense.
All right.
Okay, so you leave design school. You start this design agency. Your first client is almost like one of your professors or like one of the people at the school, right? And that seems to have been a success. How do we get to the point that we are now? Where I think even in the last kind of 18 months, 2 years, you undergo this challenge. You start kind of you become a content creator, essentially. You start, and AI is kind of like a central component, and this kind of understanding and this love for technology is like a central component of the content creation. When does that come into it, this whole content creation piece? Okay, so 6 months ago, I shared on this channel that I had this crazy goal of hitting 100,000 subscribers. Well, It's not as crazy as I thought. At the time when I said that, we had 3,000 subscribers, and we're so close right now to hitting 100,000. So please help us out with this goal, this crazy dream that I had. Hit that subscribe button. And here's what I can promise you if you do. We're going to take this podcast to another level. We're going to continue to scale the production, the guests, every little part of what we do. But I can't do it without your help. So please subscribe. Thank you for listening, and on to the show.
I had to start creating content because I was trying to get a job at an agency and nobody was hiring me because I didn't have any prior agency experience because I had chosen to drop out of school, do my own thing. And then it got to a point where my business, I was just failing. I was trying to follow my passions in a way that was not succeeding. And I was failing over and over and over again. I tried doing branding, and the branding was just, you work with these clients who are, if anybody in design knows, like when you're doing branding, there's so many steps of approval that go down between you and the client, and that communication of back and forth can be very time consuming. Right? And then these branding projects is really hard to land as an individual, or even if you have a couple of teams, because there's a bunch of big agencies and then individual freelancers that you can hire for really cheap, or these big companies have a bunch of people and then they charge like massive amounts of money. And I knew that I was better than the individuals on like Fiverr who were doing it cheaply, but I didn't have a huge team to be able to do it like these like huge agencies, right? So I was trying to find these certain clients who were able to afford me, where I could do my best work and give that I would always go above and beyond, but I wanted to be paid for that. So trying to find those clients was really difficult for me. I had a really hard time selling. I had a really hard time in like the marketing of it. I knew that my skill was good, but I had a hard time selling myself and marketing myself. That was hard. So I had tried over and over again. I would get these clients, but it was clients that would come from like word of mouth. You know what I'm saying? I'd work with one person, like finally, okay, good. Like got rent paid this month. I was just protected in that way, where like, I don't know how it happened, but I would get an inbound client. They'd come to me, I'd work with them, and then another one would come just in time. And I was living like that, and it was getting exhausting. It was exhausting. I felt like I had no control over my income, over my brand, over my life. I'm spending all this time helping other people with their brands, and I'm not having enough time or knowledge to work on mine. So I got to a point where I was like, yo, I can't do this anymore. Like I was getting to a point where I was like, I was so afraid every month that cortisol was just like, it was too much. I couldn't handle it. And I was at the point where I was just going to quit. I was like, fine, I made the wrong choice in college. I shouldn't have dropped out. I'm sorry, family. I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry. I misunderstood everybody. Fine, I'll go get a job. And I wrote down my intentions and my emotions. I had 5 intentions. My intention was to have a millionaire mentor who would freely give me information and guidance, was to be able to travel the world, was to be able to have creative freedom, was to make over $100,000 a year, and to have freedom to promote big ideas, right? Those are like my 5 things I wanted to do that year. And I said that I would feel, if I achieve this, then I would feel courageous, grateful, calm, confident, and satisfied. So I started going to all these tech events, or all these like branding design events and stuff, meeting out with these different brand agency owners and recruiters and things, trying to get a job with this set intention in mind that once I get this job, I'm going to be able to hit these 5 things. I'll be creative and travel and have a mentor that's built an agency before that'll teach me. And it's just like, it's not working out. Everybody's giving me their business cards and emailing, and I'm talking to people and showing them my work. Like nobody's hiring me because I hadn't had experience before in an agency. I was doing everything myself. Even though the work was great, I didn't have agency experience, and I was still talking like me. I was still in there talking like me to the point where I'm like, they're like, nah, like we can't bring him in here. He's gonna try to change shit. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna leave. We're gonna be safe. Like, nah, I'm not bringing his mind into this establishment. And you know, the reason why I say that is because I would tell them ideas and ways that I see their business could be improved in things before I was even hired. So you know what I'm saying? So
like he's gonna start a revolution.
He's gonna say, "Oh my gosh, yeah." You know, maybe I just wasn't good enough at the time. You know, and they just didn't think I was good enough. Maybe that's the case too, and I'm being grandiose. Either way, I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna prove to them that I know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to sit down in front of the camera and I'm going to start talking about design, and AI is on the rise right now. So I'm sure AI is going to be really like valuable for these agencies and stuff to learn. I'll talk about how AI can be used in creativity, right? So I started making videos about how you can use AI for editing pictures or making AI art and using it for your business and things. And the page just started doing like really well. And people were like, wow, this is so valuable. I'm getting so much information. This is mind blowing. And that feeling that I had when I brought that project into class was the same feeling I was getting from blowing people's minds on the internet. And I realized like, oh, I still don't need the agency. I was led to this path. I was almost going to quit. And through quitting and going down this path, it forced me into something even higher. I had hit all 5 of those intentions, and I felt the way that I intended to by the end of that year, all 5. And it wasn't through the agency job. It was still just by doing what I love to do. I just turned the camera around to myself and started to, you know, promote my ideas. I was thinking big. I was talking about big ideas and ways that you could use technology and AI, and it worked. I was redirected, and that is how I got to the point of being like Mr. Grateful on Instagram.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because you were like, I just love how it comes about because you were back in your element. Like we spoke about like childlike wonder again.
Yeah,
it's like as soon as you tap back into that, it's like things start to work. We even spoke about being kind of like detaching yourself from an outcome. It was almost the outcome that you wanted was the job. Like you actually had detachment. Like you weren't thinking about being a content creator, and it just happened.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful process. You know what? Because I know that you did like almost like a challenge. Like you set yourself a challenge. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna let you say it. Kind of give the context on that. Like when it came to the content creation, the challenge that you underwent.
Yeah. So the challenge was I knew that I wanted to grow my social media quickly. I knew I wanted to go fast. And I wanted to captivate people in a way that had never been done before. You know, still chasing that wow moment. And I had probably made, I don't know, maybe 15 videos at this point. And I was sitting down one day just really trying to figure out like how can I tap into this next like stage? How can I break through? And I was sitting down meditating, and the idea just downloaded to me, and I can triangulate the different references of inspiration that I got from it. But I had started a challenge called Agent GPT, and it was to use artificial intelligence to get to 100,000 followers in 30 days. The reason it worked is one, because AI had completely captivated everybody. And it was so interesting to see AI work in this way that nobody had ever seen before. 2, that the stakes were high because it was like, if it doesn't work, then okay, now we know AI is nothing to worry about. It couldn't even make content. So, you know, we're fine, everybody. But if it does work, wow, what does this mean for social media? What does it mean for content creation to be a creator if this does work? It was also interesting because there was a time limit on it, right? People were going to be there every single day to figure out like what was going on. So every day I would post the suggestions that AI was giving me, right? So what I did is I told artificial intelligence who I was, what my brand is, what I wanted to do, what type of content I made. And I said, your job is to just get me to 100K in 30 days. I'm going to hit you up every single day for a piece of content idea. Give me the idea. I'll do it. I'll give you the metrics. And then you take those metrics and then adjust the strategy based on the performance of the content that you gave me. And I did that every day. I started to realize that I was having better ideas than AI. So I would use my idea and I would then create the content based on my idea, but I would use it to make sure that it's in alignment with my brand, that it was going to be shareable and savable, and that it was going to be valuable to the people that were watching it, and that it was in alignment with our values too, right? So I would give it the script that I wrote out, give it to it, and it started to learn over time how I like to talk and how I like to structure my content. So over time, then I could say, give me a script, and then it could give me a script that was more in alignment with me. I would screenshot my metrics every day, put the metrics in there. It would say, okay, I see that it's not, we didn't get as many shares on this one because of that, as the last post, it could have been because of these reasons, right? So over time, it's starting to just become like my agent, my friend, and really helped me through this process. By day 22, we had hit 100,000 followers, which was awesome. I continued on for the next 8 days, and it really just captivated the world. I had hundreds, like thousands of people from all over the world trying to do the challenge themselves, and they started creating their own agent GPTs and like screenshotting the prompt I used and putting it in themselves and using it to like grow their following, right? So for the past year, I've been so grateful because I've been able to connect with people literally all over the world and help them with their social media using artificial intelligence, and some really interesting realizations have come from that.
You know, I'm just curious because I want to get into the tactics. So there are going to be people that are listening, and they're like, they want to create content, but they also want it to be successful. Like they want it to get a certain level of engagement or have impact, but also feel like it's them.
Yeah.
And so I want to get into the tactics of how someone can do that and how potentially AI could help them do that. But before we get to that, did you have any experience with content creation before you did the challenge with AI? Or was it like, this is my first foray into making content and it just blew up out the gate?